Hey guys, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks. I've got something that I was really excited to see, and that is the first gameplay of the Type 4 Heavy Tank. This is the Tier 9 Japanese Heavy, and it is an absolute beast. Thank you so much to Tilith for sending me this replay. I personally I can't wait to get one of these tanks, especially after seeing a replay like this. Now, if you watch my Japanese Heavy Tank overview, you'll know that I thought, at least statistically, this looked like one of the most impressive vehicles tier for tier along the Japanese heavy tank tree. And in the right situation, such as what you're going to see in this replay, it's an absolute monster. Now, why is that? Well, it's got 250mm of frontal armor, 250mm of frontal turret armor, 200mm of side turret armor, and 200mm of rear turret armor. That is very, very, very thick indeed. Now, the side armor, it's not quite as good. It's 140mm, but that's still better than the side armor of the E75, which is an impressive 120, and the rear armor of the tank is 150mm thick. Now, the vehicle does have a prominent cupola, but it is rather thick as well, and you're going to still need to have substantial penetration to be able to contest it, especially considering that this is a very tall tank. And quite often, you're going to be looking at it like this and unable to get that cupola. And especially so if it's using the 10 degrees of gun depression that this vehicle gets, which gives it great flexibility. That's more gun depression than on the E75 and the VK4502B. Now, what kind of a gun does this vehicle get, you might be asking? Well, it's got 140mm, making it one of the highest alpha damages of any heavy tank in the game, only really being excelled by the E100. Now, what does 140mm of penetration get you? Sorry, not penetration, of caliber get you? Well, quite a low roll there, unfortunately, for Tilith at the start of the game, 519. Let's see if you can get more lucky on the side of this Tier 8 German tank destroyer. Oh yeah, that's more like it, 635 damage, revealing what the average damage of this tank is, and that's 600. That's 110 more than the E75, 110 more than the VK4502, and only 150 less than the monster alpha damage of the E100. Now, what's really good about this gun as well is it does get very impressive penetration. 249mm of penetration, which allows it to overpower most opponents frontally, and especially when you combine that with the fact that they find it very hard to penetrate the front of your tank, that makes this vehicle very good at excelling through these frontal situations. Looks like Tilith damaged the ammo rack of that T-54E1 as the E75 on his team blows the head off that Tier 9 American medium tank. Now, this M103 fires, and so that means that Tilith knows that he's reloading. He puts in a big shot through the side. There's 609 alpha damage. I just can't get used to doing that kind of alpha damage on a Tier 9 heavy tank. It's usually only the E100 that I start to see numbers that big on. But the reload is rather long indeed. Come on, shoot the belly. Oh dear, the accuracy falls through there. This tank is not the most accurate. It is 0.4, which makes it worse than its Tier 9 German heavy tank counterparts, but it's still okay at these short to mid ranges. That looked like the easiest shot into the lower plate of the M103 actually, and a disappointment that that was unable to go through. So this situation is developing rather fast indeed. The E75 on Tilith's team is low on health, as he puts in another massive shot into the M103 at the front and bounces that 120mm gun that the M103 will be using. The IS looks like he misses the cupola of Tilith, and Tilith goes round to try and get the M103, but a T95 manages to ammo rack a Tiger on Tilith's team. The IS bounces, and Tilith doesn't, putting his damage total in the first 4.5 minutes of this game up to 4,000. The IS-2 comes in to try and support Tilith, but takes a big shot in the side there. And I don't think Tilith really needs help engaging Tier 7 heavy tanks. That IS, it's pretty much got no chance against the front of this vehicle. It needs to get the side. And that's quite an awkward thing. But when this vehicle's mobility is so bad, well, in most situations, it's not going to be too tricky. But you are going to have to take a shot or two to get there. Oh my word, look at that alpha damage. That SU-152 is not feeling very well anymore, and this T-95, one of the only tanks in the game actually slower than the Type 4 Heavy, is unable to turn his tank because Tilith is using the 165 tons of his vehicle, I believe, to push him to the side and prevent him from turning. Now he puts a good shot there into the T-95, 634 damage, and receives a shot to the side of his vehicle. Unfortunately, another one, actually the first shot went into the rear of Tilith's vehicle, as we can see there, and the second one in the side. But because the Type 4 Heavy is so tall, that means that when you combine that with 10 degrees of gun depression, that you can aim down into your opponents and get some really good shots. Into cupolas, as an example, into this T-95. Now that he's got his frontal armor to all of the enemies, that means that he is able to bounce them. And it looks like he ricocheted an APCR round from the T-95 on the enemy team. From his side armor there. Oh my word. Now my damage panel now is telling me that Tilith has received 10 shots this game and already bounced 4,000 damage. What a result. Now when you're playing a highly immobile tank like this, you have to have good map awareness and be very, well, you have to be convinced about where you're going to be going. And it looks like Tilith realizes my cap circle is open. I'm in a tank that barely goes at 20 kilometers an hour. If I go forwards, the enemies are free to cap out. And so Tilith is making his way back to the base to defend it against the enemies that have taken that western flank so convincingly. And this game is looking rather brutal indeed. Some rather good players on the enemy team. One with 6 kills in his T-54, and that's a tank that you've got to worry about in this vehicle, because quite often T-54s will fire heat ammunition at the front of you, and it doesn't even matter if you've got 250 millimeters of frontal hull armor. Even if you angle it, it's probably only going to be about maybe 280, 290 effective. Those heat rounds are going to butter the front of your tank. Now it looks like Tilith has made the right move by falling back to defend the cap circle, because it's already being taken. Oh, and there's the T-54 who's already on a top gun. Oh, he's right in the open. Can Tilith make the shot? Oh, a great snipe there, doing 410, taking out that T-54 and shutting him down out of the game. And that's a great result, because possibly that means the SU-152 will be able to survive against the Walker Bulldog. And that also takes a little bit of the pressure off Tilith here. Now he can afford to defend the cap circle with this IS-2. Now which enemy has managed to get here in time? It's probably going to be maybe the SU-122-44, thinking about it. Where is he? How can he not see in the cap circle? This map has been so changed on Redshire. There's the SU-122-44 alongside the building, takes a big hit from the IS-2, and that makes him low enough for Tilith to shut him down. That 455 damage roll needed, well within the min roll possibility of the Type 4 Heavy's 140mm gun. So I like what they've done here on Redshire. If you don't know what they've done, basically they've changed this part of the map. Oh, they've changed this part of the map over here, and they've also changed the western part of the map as well. I think these are good changes. I really like the fact that this part of the map has become a true possibility for you to advance down. But let's not get hung up on how this map has changed, as Tilith tries to handle this 2 versus 3 situation. Oh, wow, I didn't think that one was going. Tilith was aiming just a little too high there. But that Walker Bulldog isn't feeling so well anymore, as he takes a big hit, almost exactly the average damage roll there, putting Tilith's damage total to 7,600. The Walker Bulldog is obviously trying to scout for the enemy team, who are likely to be situated along this ridgeline here. Tilith's keeping his frontal armor towards the people who are going to be shooting him over here. And we can see that the mobility of this tank is also rather unimpressive going backwards. I believe the mouse goes backwards at, I think it goes nearly just as fast backwards as it does forwards. Unfortunately, that's something that the Type 4 Heavy doesn't have. Its top speed limit is limited to 10 kilometers backwards, which can be very frustrating. And also, did I mention that the 1,200 horsepower of this tank is rather underwhelming indeed when your vehicle weighs over 150 tons. And so it does take a long time to get up a slope. This vehicle also has worse ground resistances than the E75 and the VK4502, which makes it painfully slow to get around the battlefield if you're not on a hard terrain such as on Himmelsdorf or Runeberg. But the Walker Bulldog has been spotted. Can Tilith put a snipe into him? Oh dear, the Walker Bulldog turns to the right and dodges Tilith's shell. And the disaster happens as the SU-152 finishes off the IS-2 on Tilith's team, leaving him in this 1 versus 3 situation against an IS-3 who's on full health and also a rather good player, having picked up 3 kills so far this game. But will he make a mistake? Tilith decides not to blind fire there. The long reload of this tank. And I should also highlight that the reload of this tank is very low. It's got 8% worse DPM than the E75. But what a snapshot there as Tilith shuts down the M41 Walker Bulldog. But just to reiterate, the DPM of this tank is 8% worse than an E75. And the E75 is not a tank that is renowned for having good DPM. Oh wow, the upper side hull armor there of the IS-3 ricocheting that 249mm shell, 249 millimeters of penetration shell there. What an absolute heartbreak there for Tilith. I'm sure that he would have loved to have started to chunk down this IS-3's health. He's going to have to shoot him 3 times still. And oh gosh, this is where the SU-152 starts to punish the weak side armor of the Type 4 Heavy. Luckily the second shell doesn't go in, but Tilith is in a very tricky situation here. He's going to try and advance towards the IS-3, but as he's doing this, he's exposing the whole of his side armor towards the SU-152, who could very easily punish him here. But for some reason the SU-152 is not shooting him. Maybe he was too far away. Oh, there we go. He takes a shot from the SU-152 and bounces around from the IS-3, but manages to put in a good shot there into the IS-3. Okay, there's the first shot that you need. Luckily that round from the SU-152 does no damage to Tilith's tank. He's down to 500 hit points now. Fair enough, this monster starts with 2,000, but when you're down to 500, you've got to worry. Puts in a good hit in the side there, but he made a little bit of a misplay when he turned his turret to look to see what the SU-152 was doing, enabling the IS-3 to shoot him in the side. But he's decided that he needs to make a move forwards. The IS-3 bounces off the very thick frontal armor, and that should enable Tilith to reload in time. And the excellent 10 degrees of gun depression of this vehicle enable him to finish off Baby Evil in the IS-3 on the enemy team. Luckily for Tilith, it sounded like a shell from the SU-152 on the enemy team went into the gun of the IS-2 on his team, saving him from probable destruction there. Tilith is going to take his chance. He's on 7 kills, 9,500 damage. Can he find this SU-152 at the end of the game? Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? I cannot believe the pressure that would have been on Tilith there. He takes a shot in the side. The SU doesn't penetrate his tank, and Tilith finishes him off. Wow, that was lucky at the end. It looks like the very thick tracks of the Type 4 Heavy absorbed that shell at the front. Oh, that would have been a complete heartbreak if Tilith had died there. So what a massive game here for the Type 4 Heavy. Congratulations to you, Tilith, for having such a huge game in the Tier 9 Japanese heavy tank so early into the release. And you can see why this was in the top 10 of damage ever done in the Tier 9 heavy tank bracket. You certainly tested the armor of this tank to its fullest extent. You bounced over 6,000 damage this game from receiving 15 shots in your Type 4 Heavy. And also tested out this 140mm monster of a gun, doing, oh my word, nearly 10,000 damage. What a fantastic achievement. Let's just take a very quick look at the post-game stats. So Tilith got a Spartan medal for ricocheting a shell with less than 10% of his hit points left, a Radley Walters medal for his 8 kills, unsurprisingly a high caliber, and also a Steel Wool medal. This was 1,892 base experience points, which is just amazing for a tier 9 heavy. And Tilith only missed one shot all game, which was against that Walker Bulldog, which was a tricky shell to hit. Doing, as we mentioned, just shy of 10,000 damage, and his tank blocked over 6,000, keeping him in it long enough to be able to carry. Tilith's damage total was also more than the rest of his team combined, emphasizing just how much of a gigantic game this was. Funnily enough, the duration of this battle was elite, and the credits that Tilith made was 72,000 profit. So here are the biggest games of all time based on damage in any tier 9 heavy tank. We can see that there are 6 games in E75s, and then we can now see Tilith. Congratulations to you, buddy. What a result so early on in the cycle of the Type 4 Heavy, and I'm gutted for you that you didn't get that extra 49 damage that you needed to reach the magical 10,000. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this replay. If you did, please consider giving this video a like down below. It really helps the channel out. And let me know in the comments down below what you think about the Type 4 Heavy. Do you think its combination of very thick armor and a monstrous 140mm gun make this tank overpowered? Or do you think that the lack of mobility and DPM kind of balance it out? One thing's for certain, and there's a lot to talk about with the Type 4 Heavy. I tried my very best during the gameplay, but I'm sure I've missed out on a lot of things that maybe you guys can highlight and discuss in the comments. And as you may know, World of Warships was launched today, and so I'm going to be doing a bit of a celebration stream on my twitch.tv/QuickyBaby channel tonight, starting at 6 o'clock. And if you're watching this video as it was just released, I'm already going to be playing, along with Carson, who is one of the World of Warships producers and one of the newest community coordinators, Mr. Conway. So come and check it out if you're interested, and also feel free to ask any questions towards either Carson or Mr. Conway in the Reddit AMA. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.